Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. We are back to streaming this compared to last week. Should be good. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that last Sunday, but that's neither here nor there. Playing a little Overwatch. Why not? I've been playing a little bit of Overwatch on Two Brothers Play recently because there's a manual available for Archipelago, which is it's a randomizer that doesn't hook into the game at all, so it doesn't actually randomize any game contents. It's entirely just it hooks into Archipelago, so the Overwatch manual is like you start the manual and you have like one character. It lets you play as one character. And obviously when you go into Overwatch, you have access to all your characters and everything. But for the purposes of the honor system of the randomizer, you start with one character and that's the only one you can play as. And you have to get like a kill, and you have to get a kill with your ultimate and get a kill with a certain ability. And you have to win a match with that character, blah, blah, blah. And then when you do those things, you go to the little manual client and you click the button that says you've done that.
We're playing by
and then that will send a check to the server for Archipelago, so that might unlock something in StarCraft 2 for Lego. I haven't really done a manual before, so that's been kind of interesting, and it's just cool to be able to play something like Overwatch 2, but also be giving Lego checks for StarCraft 2 and stuff, or for Final Fantasy 6 or Super Metroid. So, yeah, pretty cool. Definitely, need to, when I'm doing that, I only like to play Overwatch 2 for like an hour and a half, you know, at a time. Any more than that, and it's like, okay, it's getting a little long in the tooth.
Dodge this.
So, yeah, I have it set now for the current run where pretty much it's broken up into subtypes, sub-roles for classes. So, you know, there's damage class, but then there's like different types. There's a flanker, there's a recon, sharpshooter. So, I have it set up where the goal is to basically win a match with every character in 2 different subtypes. And I've limited the pool of characters available to 2 different subtypes. So it's not an insanely long run. The first time I did it, I just let it go with like almost every subtype, and it's just like, okay, way too many heroes. This is like a 30-hour run because you have to win. I don't know. I've never played this character before. What the fuck am I doing? So, yeah, too much Overwatch.
We should probably stop the payload, right? Bath time! Thanks, that's a lot better. I'll keep you on your feet. Close one.
And what was I talking about? Right, anyways, this week on this channel, we have Ashes, which I believe is done now. We're done with Ashes. And solo RPGs, which I also have finished that Tales of Argosa mini campaign that I was uploading. So we're kind of fresh here. And I was going to upload start a Resident Evil Requiem. But the first video for that, I actually, I have to edit. It's in 2 separate parts, so I have to edit it and put it together.
We have to stop the payload.
I don't even know what my ult does.
I'm on fire.
Oh, okay. I see. So I'll be doing that tonight. I'll start Resident Evil Requiem uploading tonight. I haven't been playing it a whole lot, so I am going to have to get down to brass tacks and actually properly record it. I'm not that far in. And then I hear that there's spiders in the game, and it's like, do I really want to fuck with that?
I'll rinse you off. Reverse the tide.
Freeze!
I'm making waves out here.
EMP activated.
I don't know. I've seen some arachnophobia mods, but honestly, like, they almost seem like just as scary as the spiders. Well, there's one that I saw that turns them into just this massive amorphous blob, and that seems pretty scary. And then there was another one that turns it into Thomas the Tank Engine, and admittedly, I guess that's not as scary, but it's also, like, not for me.
What's your back, sis? We should probably stop the payload.
So, yeah. We'll see. You think it would be fun? What, the Thomas the Tank Engine thing?
Another battlefield.
It seems really kind of immersion breaking for my first playthrough.
Freya, at your service.
You know, I'm one of those types of people that, like, I never like putting, like, custom skins on. Or, you know, like when they do, like, not custom skins, but I guess it's custom skins, like in-game custom skins. Like Claire Obscure had a lot of that, and I see that stuff in Resident Evil Requiem. It's kind of like goofy skins and things, and it's like I never like doing that because I like it. I like playing it kind of as they intended for the tone of it and everything, and so throwing Thomas the Tank Engine in seems not great.
We will.
And I've never really been into that shit, that sort of humor or anything. That seems more Zoomer humor than millennial humor. Anyways, this guy again.
Going up.
Sombra online.
So we'll see. But in the meantime, I started uploading Enderall, which I recorded a while back, and I don't even remember. It's not that short of a playthrough. I didn't finish it, but I recorded a decent number of videos. So for the time being, I think it'll be Enderall and Resident Evil Requiem. Resident Evil is fun. Are you playing all of them or just the remakes? No, I'm just playing Requiem. I'm not really that big of a fan of the series. I've played, let's see. I played 4. I played 5. I played parts of 6. I played 7. I played 8. And I played the 2 remake. And then now I'm playing Requiem. So I've played a decent number of them, but I hesitate to say I loved any of them or want to replay any of them. I don't like horror games, so that's sort of a big factor. Because if you don't like the horror aspects, then they're mostly just like somewhat mediocre, like third-person shooters-ish. I mean, it's not like I play many third-person shooters or anything, but like I'd much rather play like Crimson Desert coming out this week, because that seems like the action seems like a lot more intense and fast-paced and entertaining.
Traveling to Havana.
So we'll see. I mean, if that game gets good reviews, I'll probably pick that up.
Here we go again. Shields up. I got you.
But anyways, also Dominions will of course continue and never stop. Much Dominions. And that's that. Over on the Exploring series, Part 1, Portrait of Hell released to some good viewership.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Probably mostly because of that thumbnail. That was a good thumbnail I picked, I think.
It's not Dory. My turret was demolished.
Fuck. And part 2 ended up being very lengthy. 2 hours and 8 minutes long.
I'm the last one you'll ever cross.
And yeah, it's funny to think that I was gonna do that in one video originally. That did not end up being the case. So 2 hours and 8 minutes, and I was like, well, that's a hell of a lot of artwork for me to use across that whole video. Either that, or each piece of art will be like 6 minutes long, and it's I don't know. Stop giving me healers! Fuck! Too many damn supports in this game.
Won't stop itself. Let's go.
It's probably not a common complaint.
The enemy is here.
Yeah, so I didn't really want to use art, so I was just thinking, okay, what should I do? You know, sometimes I'll just use like one image and it'll be the whole thing for 2 hours. And there's nothing really wrong with that. It is what it is. But I wanted it to be a little bit more interesting than that.
Let's stop that payload from getting any.
So I went back to Claude. I probably could have found something similar to what I wanted online, but I was thinking about, you know, it's all about sort of hell and flames and fire and blah, 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 blah. Fucking hell. Wanna plays a part. Probably shouldn't be playing Mystery Heroes then. I was thinking about, there's an effect, there's like a little animation in Doom 2016.
Enemy surge. Nodding off. Make better.
When you load into a new level, like the little transition between levels. And it's like a dark screen, like black screen, and then there's like this little puff of like fire, like embers from a fire, you know? And I was like, that's a really cool, I've always really liked that every time I play that game. I think that's really cool. So it would be cool to just sort of like replicate that, but just have that at the very start of the video. You know, and so there's just like this little embers kind of popping up. And then as the video goes on, it increases in quantity, you know, and everything, and there's more and more. And then eventually it turns to flames. And then the flames get bigger and bigger, and then that's like the climax, you know. I thought that would be pretty cool. So I didn't really look much to see if there was something of that Doom effect.
Payload should be moving.
Online. I was just like, let's see if I can have Claude like just write another script that replicates this. It took a few iterations, but it ended up being pretty close, like not that far off.
You're safe with me.
Gotta stop that payload.
So yeah, I recorded, you know, I ran the script, and then I just recorded it for like 16 minutes, and I was like, okay, that's good. And then I just started, in the editing, just started layering them on one another. And then I was like, okay, so now the flames. It didn't do as good of a job with the flame. It did this sort of like hellish glow effect, which was not terrible, but not that great. So that one I went online. I was like, okay, surely I can just find like flame, like bonfire flames on a black background, and I did, but it was like 5 seconds long or something. It was really short. Fuck, that wasn't worth it. And so I was like, okay, this needs to be way longer, otherwise I'm going to be repeating this little 5-second thing like 1,000 times. And it was also a very fast animation of fire, and I wanted it to be much slower to not be distracting. So I slowed it down in DaVinci Resolve and everything, but then of course it ran at like 4 frames per second. And looked like dog shit, right? So I slowed it down to like 30%. But DaVinci Resolve has this other feature that's like AI frame interpolation. And so it will actually just like make new frames for the video in order to get it up to like whatever frame rate. And so I tried that, and that looked really pretty good. Like, this isn't a complicated thing, it's just flames, so it wasn't that difficult for it to do. So it looked good, and everything was good. The problem was, however, when I layered that like 12 times on top of one another, and they were all using like frame interpolation. What I should have done, I didn't, in hindsight, I should have not done it in DaVinci Resolve. I should have done some separate program to just adjust the flame thing to be what, use a different program to make it into a video clip that was longer and it had AI frames added and stuff, rather than doing it in DaVinci. and then bringing in the adjusted version and layering that on top of each other. Because the render time for that video was like 9 or 10 hours long. And normally I render an Exploring Series video in like 5 minutes. So it was extreme. And it ended up taking the entire night to render. Regardless, it got rendered. It looked okay. I uploaded it. It's done. It's done. It's done. Yeah. So that's that. 2 hours and 8 minutes long. It's a film. It's very good. I think it's a very good article and everything, but it's a fucking film. Yeah, so that's that. Alright, anyways, this is a very distracting game compared to just RimWorld.
The perfect world is shaped by my hand.
Let's talk about RPGs, shall we? So the original plan for this week was that LEGO was going to start DMing a campaign using 13th Age. That fell apart on Monday when LEGO had not prepared a single thing. He had not looked at anything. He had done nothing. And he was basically just like, yeah, I can't. This is too much. You know, he's an incredibly disorganized guy. There's just no doubt about it.
Someone needs to build this saddle.
And he's just kind of all over the place, and I think you can be sort of on the lower end of the intelligence scale. Or dumb, if you want to call it that.
It's a bone.
And you can still be organized, whereas you can be on the smarter side of things and be disorganized. Like, I think those are two somewhat separate traits. So, yeah, I mean, his problem is more that he's just not organized, and he has no good time management. You know, he acts like he's perpetually busy, and he's always just running from one thing to the next. But the truth is, he's really not, you know.
Triple kill.
He wastes a lot of time. He has no time management, blah, blah, blah. And then the other big hurdle towards him not being good at DMing would be that he doesn't really like reading. He doesn't want to read anything.
Ooh, that's where it hurts.
Triple kill.
I'm missing.
Yeah, that one's a tough one, and that's why RPGs are kind of a nerdy hobby most of the time. I think there are RPGs that you can run and play and all that involve basically no reading. You know, like we could sit down every week and just play like Fiasco or something like that.
Double
But if you're gonna DM a fantasy game with, you know, in the D&D vein of things, it's probably gonna involve some reading, I would imagine.
triple kill.
Clean them up nice. That's your sunset.
He said to us, and I quote, that he reads so slowly that it actually makes him dumber.
Double kill.
Easy pickings.
We all kind of scoffed at that one because Lego is a very, very big fan of AI,
Plenty more where that came from.
and he uses it every day now for his job and for every, you know, he just loves it. And it's like, that's a very odd thing to say when you're using
Really underestimate
a program every day, day in and day out, that is proven to actively make you dumber.
Double kill.
But the thing with AI is that it removes his necessity to think,
Double kill.
and that's very appealing to someone like him.
I'll never miss my mark.
Double kill.
IQ tends to drop when you're not using it. Yes,
Triple kill.
it's a muscle and all that, and having an LLM there that you just kind of feed into everything. There was a issue recently with his job. You know, it's a family business and everything, so we all know everything going on. And my aunt said to me that he was putting some products on, and he made a typo, I guess I would call it.
Double
These barrels are smoking.
He made, you know, I'm not the smartest crayon in the box either, don't get me wrong, but I went to college briefly for English. I write somewhat for a living. I have a decent grasp of the English language, so they often will ask me English-related questions and stuff. So, to me, it was pretty definitively wrong, the wording that he used.
Wrong man.
And even to them that aren't experts, it was pretty definitively wrong. But he either messed up or the AI messed up because he was just following what they told him to put. When they told him about this and said, this is wrong, you need to change this, his response was, well, I'll have to ask ChatGPT about it. And it's just like, in 10 years' time, am I even going to be able to talk to this human? Am I even going to be able to talk to this person? Or is everything he says or thinks or doesn't think, is it all just going to have to fed through an LLM first?
Quit making yourself an easy target.
And that's like, I think his dream, you know, is just like have a chip installed in his head that's just like, yeah, don't worry, fam, I got this.
Double kill.
And you'll just be talking to someone, and then suddenly they'll just mention how great Mountain Dew is and how you should go pick yourself up a fresh bottle of Mountain Dew, please, because it's all controlled by some, you know, corporate hive mind. Or I don't know, man. It's scary. I try not to use LLMs or anything. I really try to avoid it. I have been using Claude here and there. Like I said, I used it for the video because I don't know how to program, and I used it recently to make the mod for Dominions and the mod to put Cataclysm in Archipelago and stuff because I really don't want to learn how to program. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's like the same issue. It's like I have the mental capacity and everything to learn how to program this. Why wouldn't I? It's sheer laziness, I suppose, and that's the same thing. So I don't want to be too much of a hypocrite here. But beyond that, like, people go into these LLMs just for every little thing in their life, and even just like basic like thoughts, and just like using it as a journal, essentially, and just people building relationships. And Outsourcing critical thinking, literally. Yeah, exactly. It's scary. It's scary, and I tell them like every day, like this shit is making you dumber, but that's not to a person that has already abandoned reason and logic, that does not sway them from their path. So, I don't know. But regardless, he's not going to be TMing anytime soon, I think, to say the least. So I said, well, everyone was kind of on board with 13th Age based off of that one shot I did. And it's a fun system. It's fun, heroic fantasy. You know, it's certainly not even remotely close to the OSR or anything, but it's fun. I don't mind maybe running something like that as a change of pace. And I thought about running the one that he was going to run that was written for 13th Age called Shards of the Broken Sky. And I started looking at it and it was like, this seems like a rough one for this group because it seems pretty open-ended. Very free-form kind of narrative and using icon connections and blah, and it's like, no, these people need to be led by a fucking leash to the next location sort of campaign.
Anyone else?
So I ended up with Rise of the Rune Lords, written for Pathfinder. It's a classic, it's pretty well regarded for the most part. It's classic sort of goblins, ogres, giants, dragons, that sort of stuff, It's nothing mind-boggling or fresh, but these people will eat it up. And it can be pretty linear. At least, for a good chunk of it. So, perfect.
All patched up.
So, it took me a couple days to just prep the first session and everything.
Double kill.
Doing all the reading and kind of just getting my head into this setting. And it's fun because it's in Galarian, and I'm a big fan of the Pathfinder video games and stuff, so... And yeah, we had our first session, and it went pretty well. It was extremely linear. I led them by the nose to each thing, and they're really, like I even narrated sort of for their characters, which is something you normally never want to do. Most people are very protective of their their sort of agency of their characters. Telling them what their character thinks or does is anathema. But for this group, it's all okay, baby. They had a lot of fun and they enjoyed it. So, yeah, I am breaking all the rules of DMing, of the good practice of DMing. The one thing 13th Age does is it has montages. It actually doesn't. The second edition books do not mention montages at all. But a lot of people that play and run 13th Age do use them because they're fun, It's just like, this is a narrative kind of thing. It's light, rules light. We're just big heroes doing big dick hero stuff. So don't sweat it and just have a big epic montage of various events. I was like, okay, this is good. I like them. I'm going to incorporate them into it. So during the start of the campaign, there's a big raid on the town by goblins, and it was meant to be 3 battles. And I was like, that's a bit too much of goblin battles. So let's do 2 battles, and in between there'll be a big montage of them running around and helping out the town with the raid and dealing with goblins in different situations. And so we did it, and it went mostly well. Well, no, the first one didn't go really well at all because, yeah, as I said, these are not creative, inventive people, so they're always going to kind of struggle unless the answer is exceedingly obvious. But if the answer is exceedingly obvious, then why even ask? Just tell them what their character does. And it's just like, yeah, I could just sit here and write a book, I guess, and read it back to them. But I think there should be some options available to the players. But yeah, they either had like not great ideas, or it was a dice roll and they didn't roll that well because they don't incorporate their backgrounds because they just don't get it. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, it didn't go fantastically well, but I didn't really punish them for it. And then later there was another montage. when they were just kind of hanging around town, because there was a bunch of, after things have cooled down and they're kind of big heroes in the town for helping with the goblins, there's a bunch of like little events, and a couple of them seem to suggest that they're meant for one player, one character. And so I was like, okay, well, let's just make this into another montage then. So we had one person go on the boar hunt with the noble, and one person gets like caught up with this girl trying to seduce him, and one person dealing with this goblin hiding out in someone's closet, and the other one was fuck. Oh, the discovery in the cemetery that the bones of the previous priest has been stolen and stuff, and there's like a little scuffle with some skeletons. And that one went a lot better because the cleric went to the cemetery and used like turn undead to blast the skeletons, and that was cool, and he rolled well. And then Lego went on the boar hunt, and he got cut up a little bit by the boar, but he defended the noble, and the nobleman, told the story for the rest of the day to everyone who would listen, and blah blah blah. And
Plenty more where that came.
the goblin in the closet, I sent my mom, who's just a fighter, and she just cut it in half, and it was like, okay, she was happy with that, so whatever. But then my aunt was the one that ended up getting seduced by this young woman, and she gets kind of caught. They get kind of caught in the basement by the girl's dad, and there's like the guy coming down the staircase, and he sounds angry, and it's like, what do you do? And she's playing a ranger, and I was like, okay, well, she's probably just gonna like hide behind some stuff. But no, she apparently thought it was a completely empty basement, and no matter how many times I try to drill this into these players over years of time now, over and over, just ask fucking questions. I can't be responsible for telling them every detail of every room and situation they're in. They need to ask questions. They have to have information in order to make informed decisions. Does not matter. They will never get the hang of it. And then they will be angry at me for not telling them. So she apparently thought this was a completely bare, empty basement. Like in fucking Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, when you go down and there's just like this square room of gray stone. That's apparently what she thought. Because I didn't mention that there was things in the room. Should I have mentioned it? Maybe, but it was just like meant to be a quick montage sort of thing. So the description was just like, yeah, she lures you down into her dad's shop's basement. It's like, you'd assume it's not a bare, empty room. You'd assume that if your first thought was, I'm gonna hide, you'd ask, is there anything I can hide behind? But no, there was no thought. The thought was just, yep, he didn't mention there's anything, so it's an empty room. I can't hide. I'm fucked. So her thought then was just that she tried to talk her way out of it, despite not being a charismatic character at all. She, her backgrounds were like tomb robber and like mercenary or something. I don't know. It was something like that. So she failed to talk her way out of it, and the guy threw her out, and she didn't get the reward, and she was like really upset. Not really upset, but she was miffed. And just, I don't like these montages, and it's like,
Triple kill.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Everyone else liked it. Everyone else liked it, and they enjoyed her failure, and they had a laugh out of it and everything. But I don't know what to say. These people are just special.
Easy pickings.
Sometimes I do wonder if I was adopted.
Double kill. Triple kill.
It's a bone orchard.
Anyways. So then there was a couple other things, with the plot sort of things where the sequence with Ameko and her dad sort of arguing in the middle of the store, and her dad getting kind of thrown out, and then the sheriff introducing them to this local sort of this other ranger that says that there's a lot of trouble going on with the goblins right now, and they're all kind of like working together, which they've never worked together before, so someone's probably leading them around. And then the sheriff says he's going to go away for a week to get some additional troops from the bigger city, and he hopes the players will kind of watch over things in the meantime. And then they find out that Ameko has gone missing, and there's a note from her half-brother who's estranged, and she apparently went to the family's glassworks building in town, and no one has seen her. So the players head over to the glassworks, of course, very linear. And that's where I had to end it. We weren't quite out of time, but I didn't actually think they'd get that far. It moves along pretty quickly when you're just kind of leading them by the nose and doing like faster combat and montages and stuff. Like, you cover a lot of ground pretty quickly, which is, I think, good in this case. And that's where we ended. I know, like I said, pretty much everyone enjoyed it except for my aunt and the montages. However, this week, Lego was going to be out of town. I mean, he still is going to be out of town. He's leaving Thursday morning, and he's got a lot of stuff to do. He was always planning on coming to the stream on Wednesday night, because he's planning on just staying up all night Wednesday night, so that's fine. But he really wasn't sure about coming to the RPG session, so we figured we weren't going to do it. And then my nephew was like, well, why don't we do a one-shot? I was like, okay, we could do a one-shot, I guess. And then I thought, well, since it's a one-shot no matter what, I don't usually like to throw in different systems like this to throw them off. But the Nimble Kickstarter just ended, and I kind of want to give Nimble a try, because I've heard really good things about it. So I was like, okay, I'll run a one-shot using Nimble, just so we can give it a try. And so I've been prepping that, just using like the quick start rules and the little tiny adventure that's in the quick start rules. And so far, I gotta say, I like a lot of what I see. I mean, it's obviously got a lot of 5th edition identity on its sleeve, but it does a hell of a job of streamlining things. You know, there's no attack rolls. You just roll damage. So you almost always hit unless you roll a 1 on your damage die and then you miss. But if you roll the highest number on your damage die, you crit and it explodes and you get to roll another damage die and so on and so forth. So combat can definitely be quicker. The actual combat, like at the table, is quicker because there's no attack rolls and checking of that and missing and adding up numbers and blah, blah, blah. You're just rolling damage. Characters themselves are pretty simplified. There's only 4 stats instead of 6. It strips things down to just modifiers, so you don't have like a 17 strength and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't really mean anything. The skill list has been kind of pared down a little bit. Class abilities have been kind of pared down, but still pretty interesting and kind of unique classes and stuff. They're all obviously based on 5th edition classes, but still. And then the actual combat, well, the actual like rounds, it's very Pathfinder 2nd edition. Everybody gets 3 actions per round. And movement is an action, attacking is an action, most things are like an action, so you can kind of divvy things up. And you can attack multiple times in one round, but you get this sort of scaling disadvantage. But since there's no attack roll, the disadvantage is on your damage dice. So if you roll a d6 and you attack twice, the second attack is 2d6 and you remove the highest result. Which means that you're much less likely to crit, you're more likely to miss, but overall you're going to have a lower damage total. But still, the option is available to you. But there's so many, like, much like Pathfinder 2nd edition, there's a bunch of other things you're going to be able to do on your turn with different actions. And, even cooler, your actions replenish at the end of your round, and then in between, before it's your turn again, there are reactions. And this is stuff like opportunity attacks, of course.
I'm really feeling the heat.
But also, you can interpose. So you can take a hit for someone that's within a couple spaces of you. You can help. So if you can come up with how you might use a skill or something to help somebody else with their roll, you can do a help action, which will give them advantage on the roll. And then there's also defend, which is the big thing. Because there's no attack rolls, there's no AC. Everything kind of automatically hits. So armor instead reduces damage, but not passively. you have to do the defend reaction to reduce the amount of damage you take from a hit by your armor value. The catch is, of course, twofold. One is that you can only use each reaction once per round. So you can only defend once per round before it's your turn again. And two, any reactions you do are going to cost you actions for your next turn. So if you use the defend reaction on your next turn, you're only going to have 2 actions to use. So there's a lot of like little decision making on your turn and in between your turns, which is really cool. It's surprisingly, I mean, on paper, it seems surprisingly robust for how streamlined it is.
Double kill.
So I really just want to see it in practice and see how it goes. I might, you know me. I might do something solo with it just to get the hang of the combat and see how it flows. I do like doing that. But yeah, it seems pretty good, and I think everyone's going to like it. I've made some pretty wild kind of, like I made my nephew like a fiendkin, like a tiefling shadowmancer that gets to summon shadows and stuff, and I made my aunt a bun cheat, which is like a bunny person thief. Made my mom a commander, and I was talking to Lego about it because he was like, maybe I will show up on Wednesday. And I was like, well, if you're showing up on Wednesday at this point, you're showing up for the one shot. Like, that's set in stone at this point. And so last night during the stream, I made him a character just in case. And I made him a Turtlekin Oathsworn, which is like a turtle paladin. Like, really slow, but has like 11 armor at level 1, which seems very high. Reducing any one hit he takes by 11 per turn seems great. And the nice thing is, odd to say I suppose, is that it's very compatible with 5th edition stuff. So I can run any 5th edition module, and it takes very little effort to convert it, which is nice, because there's a good amount of 5th edition modules. And I also saw someone has already been converting Rise of the Rune Lords to Nimble, which I haven't looked at yet, but that would be kind of handy too. So I don't know. We'll see. I also thought, I'm not sure, and I think I saw a post a little while back about it in the Shadow Dark subreddit of like, what would it take to run like old school dungeons with Nimble? I think you'd have to pare down numbers quite a bit. And that was, I think, what the post was in Shadow Dark, was basically like converting the Nimble combat system and the action system over to Shadow Dark. It's hard to say. I don't want to make it into an OSR game, but it would be kind of nice to have the wealth, the veritable mountain of old school modules and stuff that I could just run with Nimble.
Triple kill.
And I think I could do that right now. But it would probably be pretty easy. Or wildly unbalanced and thus not really suitable. One of the two.
Triple kill.
But anyways, so I'll be running a Nimble one-shot on Wednesday for anyone that wants to. I probably should have done it sooner to help promote the Nimble Kickstarter, but it didn't really need help promoting. It did very well, I think. And then we'll get back to Rise of the Rune Lords the following week. Whether it will be with 13th Age, or maybe we'll all be enamored with Nimble, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, that's enough shooting things with McCree. So, we've got Enderall, the big Skyrim mod. It's a hell of a mod. We've got Resident Evil Requiem. We've got Dominion 6, Nimble, Two Brothers Play, blah, blah, blah. And over on the Exploring series, part 2 of A Portrait of Hell, 2 hours and 8 minutes. It's good stuff. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. And I'll see you fine folks next week.